So we recognize that this is a class on finance and not on programming or Excel spreadsheets, but as part of our goal, we do want to expose you to another number of different aspects of Excel and finance and applications of finance. If you do have more questions regarding, this is known as VBA programming that we're going to do right now. This is a pretty good book. This is the one that I use. It's pretty concise. It's several hundred pages of material, but each section is relatively concise. And then at any given time, you can use, the best thing is to come to Google, or another thing is to come to Google and do like VBA, and then you can have, for example, one of the commands we're going to use is dim. All right, let me do this one. I'll do a for. So VBA for loop, and then there are hundreds of different references with little code snippets that let you come and figure out what everything is. So that's for those of you who may want to have additional questions. So here's the program that I have right now. And what I want to do is go ahead and have a program that I start in this cell. I say go, and it fills 500 columns over, and going from column 2, or from row 2 down here to row 101. So that's 99 columns down. Okay. Let's come back to our editing. So I'm going to start off by putting in a for loop, and I want to for I equal 1 to, I'm going to say 101, and this is going to be the number of rows that we're filling as we go down. So I'm going to put a comment in here. Comment is the little single quote markup. Count of number of rows. And when I hit return, you'll notice that it changed. Excel, or the editor, is going to adjust this to standard VBA format. It just makes it look a little easier. The next thing we're going to do is come down here, and we're going to tab over, tab over, tab over, and go ahead and tab over. And then we're going to end the loop. So we hit a double return and a backspace, and it's going to be to end the loop with next I. So this is the next variable. In other words, I starts at 1, it goes through and does everything, and comes to the next I, comes back. I is 2, goes through and does everything in the loop, etc., etc. We're going to need a couple of things known as dimension variables. So this is, I'm just going to type it. It's dim z1 as a string. So a string means it's letters, not numbers. And what that means is that you can have the number 1, and 1 times 10 is 10, or you can have the character symbol of 1, like in a phone number, for example. Or if I typed in something like let's just say a password, HPK13 OPY. So this 1 and 3 are characters, they're not the number 13. All right, and we want to create 3 variables, dim z2 as string, and then we want to dim z3 as string. Okay. Now we're going to come into our for loop, and we're going to start using these guys. And I want you to look at this particular equation. This is active cell. Active cell means the cell that's highlighted, and then dot formula R1C1 says put this formula in here, and R1C1 means in row and column format. So it's not B2 or C25 or CW62. So the columns are column 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the rows are row 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? So in this case, I want to go in row 28 and column 5 of sales forecasts and get that number. And here I want to go and row 28 and column 8. So R28, column 8, row 28, column 8. And then that's for I is equal to 1, the first time we go through. When I is equal to 2, I want the 28 to become a 29. And then when I is equal to 3, I want to go 30. In other words, if I look at my sales forecast, I want to start in this cell and then continue all the way down. So every number I go forward, I want to come down and get a different random draw every time the row moves down. So let's see what that looks like. Come back to our editor. First thing I gotta set my counter. So this is my Z1 is equal to 27 plus I. So if I is equal to 1, Z1 starts out at 28, which is where we want to start. And when I come down here, in terms of the go-to reference, I want to start in row 2, column 2, and then I want to go to row 2, column 101. So the columns are always going to stay the same. It's the rows that are going to start incrementing. And then we want to increment down 1 as well in terms of moving 1 cell offset. All right, so we're going to say that Z2 is equal to 1 plus I. All right, so we're going to do a little bit of editing down here. First thing, I don't want the 28. So let's open up a little space here. So you notice that this is in quotes, which is telling Excel to put everything in quotes into that cell. So I'm going to end the quote here. So it says add all this stuff, put it into the cell. And then I'm going to hit the and symbol like this. Put in Z1 and put the and symbol in again. And what the and means is concatenate, which means smash everything together. Sort of like, think of it as addition. So you would say that, for example, compiling error, got you. That 1 plus 1 is equal to 2, right? Well, we would say that A concatenate with B is equal to AB. So that's just what we're doing down here. Oop. Put my eye back in. So we've got our concatenation done. Now we put a quote, and now we always want to be at C5. We're always in column 5 when we do this. And then the next thing we want is, again, we take the 28 out. We're going to add our parentheses. And then our concatenation. And again, our Z1, and then our concatenation, which is this and symbol, and then a quote. So what this is going to do is the first time through, Z1 is equal to 28, so it's going to put 28 there. And the second time through, it is going to go to 29, and then 30, and then 31, and then 32, etc., etc. All right, so we've gotten that aspect covered. Next thing we want to do, we have our cell offset. This is where we hit the return. In other words, we entered this value. We actually don't need it. So now we're going to do our next one. So we want to highlight from row 2, when I is equal to 1, so Z2 is equal to 1. So again, quote, put our concatenate in, now our Z2, and our concatenate, and then a quote. Get rid of the 2 here, and now I'm going to put my Z2 again, my concatenation symbol, and then a quote. Okay, so this says go to, that's going to highlight everything. In other words, it's going to select it, and then the selection we're going to fill right. Now we're going to go all the way down, and we're going to active cell offset 1, range A1, and next I. So let's go ahead and save. Hit the save button. Come back to your Excel program and hit the save, our Excel file, and hit the save button. Here's our sales analysis. We've got our equations in there. Remember on the macro, we changed it to Control I, so we can run this macro by just going and hold down the Control key and hit the I button. And lo and behold, we've got random draws. Oh, a lot of them anyway. Let's see if we made a mistake. So E28, H28, 29, 29, 29, 29, 28, 28. You'll notice how all these are correct. 32, 32, 32, 32. Come on down here to the bottom. We went one above where we needed to go, or at least where our sales data was. So I just hit delete there. And in my case, I'm only coming out to 100. Remember, you need to go out to 500. And any one of these cells can randomly be chosen by the grading program to say, is this what it's supposed to be? Right? So the program will come through here and randomly pick probably at least 100 cells, maybe more, and check to see if it's norm.inverse, ran parenthesis, parenthesis, and then make sure that it's referencing the correct location on the sales forecast. So that's the macro. So here you've learned how to record a macro. You've learned how to then come back and edit the macro so that you can get the starting point of a program and then go ahead and do this whole thing automatically. And you can see how with relatively little bit of work and knowledge, we saved a huge amount of work with respect to getting this entire table filled up. Alright, so the last thing I'm going to do here, again, every time I hit the delete key, for example, or do something that forces it to recalculate, it creates a new set of random variables for me. Now that's great, but I want one set to work from. So just like we've done a bunch of different times, you're just going to click up here, we're going to Control C to copy, come into our sales fix, and now we're going to just paste the numbers. So at that point, if I hit the delete key up here, nothing happens. So now I have a base set of numbers that I can use to do my calculations with. And this is going to be kind of a, like I said, it's sort of a pseudo or very simplistic Monte Carlo simulation. But it's going to give us some fairly reasonable prices for your companies, typically does. And ultimately, we're going to work backwards and improve our model a little bit more. All right, thank you very much. I know this is for some people who've never done any kind of programming, certainly a little intimidating and a little bit scary. You will need to include one printout of your program with your report that you turn in. And of course, the Excel Graders program can come in here and check to make sure that your program is running in the right format. We haven't decided yet whether we're going to let the program to do the grading on this or not. There's some challenges to that, just because you may decide to call this Z2 or Z3 or Z whatever. Anyway, so I'm going to leave this up here just for a second. If you're code isn't working, you should be able to copy exactly what you see here on the screen and actually have it work. All right, thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed learning a little bit of macros, and you can see how valuable they might be to lots of different projects. Thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed watching. Bye.